Welcome, brave souls, to Fear File Chronicles, your one-way ticket to spine-chilling stories and terrifying tales. Tonight, we'll be diving into the darkest corners of the human mind with the story, Rickets, Part 4, penned by the twisted mind of Locked 334. Together, we'll explore the unexplained and face our deepest fears. But before we begin, if you enjoy trembling and terror, be sure to hit that like button. Share this video with your fellow fear fanatics and subscribe to our channel. Don't forget to click the bell notification so you never miss an eerie episode. Your support truly means the world to us, so feel free to leave a comment below to join the Fear File Chronicles community. Now, without further ado, let's unravel the mysteries of the unknown together as we delve into tonight's fear-inducing story, Rickets, Part 4. Dim the lights and prepare yourself for a chilling journey into the Fear File Chronicles. I took the narrow pathway slowly. Everything looked different with a sober mind. The trees even seemed to bow back in the soft summer breeze, as if beckoning me forward. The thick brush began to fall away on the left side of the road, and I knew that the clearing would appear soon. The faded yellow headlights cast an eerie glow upon the trees. But that was not what caught my attention first. A man crouched beside a newly erected wooden cross. He seemed to be placing flowers on the grave as I approached. He rose slowly, and his head peered over his left shoulder. He was hunched over slightly, and despite his baggy attire, I could tell he was frail. His skin was very dark but worn. His long braided hair was white, but peppered with gray. As I focused on his eyes, I noticed the white haze that rested over the pupils. I stopped short of the man and parked the truck. I eased my way off the seat, but even a blind man would have heard my approach. He turned to face me, resting his hands on a hand-carved walking stick. Feathers had been braided into his locks, and his garb was adorned with several colorful accents.
"You come to pay your respects?"
My voice cracked as I spoke. No. Yes. I did not know him, though. He gave a slight chuckle.
"Oh, but you do."
My mouth fell open, but my mind could not decide on the proper words to respond. The man shook his head slightly and turned away. He started into the brush, and as I went to call out, he disappeared behind the tall grass. Without thinking, I darted forward. I swerved around the makeshift headstone and dove into the trees after the man. He knew something, and I needed answers. I followed the trail of moving limbs and bushes. He was inhumanly quick for an old man, and before I knew it, I had lost track of him. I jutted back and forth between trees until my foot caught a loose root, and I stumbled forward. I cursed my luck and grabbed at my knee, which had landed on a fallen branch, before noticing I was now in a clearing. I rolled to my knees, and my eyes automatically locked onto a fire, flickering in the center, and the man sitting beside it. I slowly rose to my feet and stepped forward. As I approached, I noticed that all the greenery faded away the closer I came. Soon, I was standing on a circle of packed red clay. The old man was seated on the ground, and he gestured for me to take a seat across from him. I scanned our surroundings, but it appeared we were alone. As I sat, I noticed that he was silently chanting. The words made little sense to me, but it was evident it was a Native American language. I tried to explain that I did not understand. And suddenly, the old man thrust forward a handful of dust. The particles scattered across the flame, and it shifted into a strange hue of bluish purple. The ashes pocked across my cheeks, and I had to close my eyes abruptly. I rubbed at my face because I was sure some of the embers had entered my eyes. I cursed the old man as he started to laugh, but when I opened my eyes, he was gone. My eyes darted from side to side for a moment before his hand clasped down on my shoulder to startle me.
"You should be able to understand now,"
he said with a smirk. I jerked away from his grasp. "What the hell was that?"
"Just a little help from the spirits,"
he replied before beckoning me to follow him. Again, any sane person would not follow. Considering my track record so far, I should have just gone back to the truck. The truth was, I still had no other options, and I needed to know what was going on. So, I rose from the dirt and continued after the man. He stayed within eyesight this time as we pushed further into the trees. As the foliage thinned, we approached a creek. I could only assume it was the same one from Hal's story. The old man stopped at the bank and lowered himself to cup some water into his hand. He raised it to the moon, gave a quick prayer, and then brought it to his lips. He turned to me and motioned toward the water. It was easy to guess what he intended. So I gathered water as well and raised it to the sky. He repeated the words, and I drank. I had no idea what I was doing or why, but something told me I would not get answers if I did not go along with the ritual.
Good. Now he should leave you be for us to talk,
he said sharply before taking a seat on a stump. I turned to the old man. You mean Rickets? He gave a quick huff in amusement.
That's just the name he chose from the boy. It comes from a place of the child's pain.
My brow furrowed in confusion. Then who?
He has had many names. None of them matter. It's his purpose that matters,
he said with a knowing nod. The old Native American began weaving a tale. He had been walking that trail many years ago when he happened upon a boy who was clinging to life. He tried all he could, but there was little to be done. So in the boy's final moments, he gave a small prayer. Once Ricky was dead, he buried the body. He knew the area well and understood what had probably happened. He also knew that little would be done considering the area. As night fell, he gathered his things to depart. But as he did so, he could feel a cold take hold of what should have been a warm summer night. The trees began to whip violently. A wind that had not been there seconds ago took over the small patch of grass. A spirit shrouded in darkness descended on the grave. It took the torment and pain of innocent death and used it as fuel. The following day, the boy's father was returning from work. He saw the disturbed patch of dirt and flowers. In his mind, he knew what it was and decided to stop. Again, in a drunken anger, he kicked away the flowers and spat on the dirt.
And that man was tormented until his death.
The wise old man ended his story. I turned it all in my mind before speaking. What about me? I didn't mean to disturb anyone's grave.
Not sure. Maybe that's why you're alive. Or maybe you appeased it somehow.
He shrugged.
But he's not done with you, I'm sure.
The wind whipped up again, making the firelight dance even more. The sound caught my attention. My eyes looked up to the trees. The branches rattled above. I could have sworn they were chanting,
Rickets, Rickets, Rickets.
I needed more answers. I needed to know what to do. I did not want to die, especially not for a stupid mistake. Then the fire went out, as if someone had flipped a switch. When I turned toward the stranger, he was gone. I spent the next hour searching the trees for him, but he had left no sign. Eventually, I returned to the truck and plopped into the driver's seat in defeat. My face rested in my hands for a moment. Before I started pulling at my hair, I thought, this is insane, and I have no idea what to do. I kept retelling the stories in my head. There had to be an answer to this. There had to be a way out. Then I looked over toward the wooden cross. The Native American hadn't mentioned a cross. Someone else had put that there, but who and why? Someone else knew the story, and I had to find out. I started the truck and headed back to town. The next morning, I woke up to the sun peering through the windshield. I had decided to pull into a 24-hour gas station to sleep, and luckily no one had bothered me. I only had one dream that night. It was of Hal's fear-filled eyes, right before I pulled the trigger. The more I thought about it, the more it seemed to be the only answer as to why I was still alive. This spirit, or whatever it was, wanted me to find these people and make them pay. I just did not know where to start looking. I mean, I had no idea when this happened. Judging by Hal's appearance, it had to have been at least 50 years ago. There was no real way of knowing if those boys even still lived in the area. My train of thought was derailed by the heavy grumble of a stomach that had not eaten in almost a day. I groaned because I knew I had no money and nowhere to go. Then I remembered that during my meeting, Earl had given every newcomer a card with his phone number on it. I had just shoved it in my pocket, not expecting to use it. But soon I was dialing the number. I ditched the truck. I did not want to get caught driving a dead man's vehicle. Earl picked me up not long after and took me to the local Waffle House for breakfast. He generously paid as I explained my living situation. He said he could make a few calls about getting me in somewhere and maybe even a job. I thanked him profusely. Earl just smiled and told me not to worry about it because he had received help when he was climbing back out of his hole too. He asked if I had heard about Hal, but I pretended to know nothing. The police were ruling it as a suicide, but I knew better. Earl went into a lengthy conversation about how even those who had been sober for a long time still struggled with feelings of hopelessness. Then he made me promise to call him before I did anything that extreme, so I did. The whole idea of lying to him made my stomach churn. I was sure I would be revisiting the breakfast I had just eaten. We talked for a while, but I did not bring up Rickets. Eventually, someone called him back about a hotel room I could stay in temporarily, so we loaded up and headed that way. I did not deserve his help, but I was grateful. As we arrived, my first thought was that it was one of those places you paid by the hour, not the night. However, beggars could not be choosers, so I feigned appreciation. Earl gave me one of those big hugs that seemed inappropriate to me. He told me he would be back to check on me the next day. As the door opened and there was not a crime scene waiting for me, I counted myself lucky. The television only had 3 channels. The water was rust-colored. The bed smelled of mildew, but it would have to do. I instinctively tossed the bedding, considering I had no idea what was on it, and flopped on the mattress. I pulled out my phone, and my finger hovered over the number for my parents again. I thought about the promise I made when I thought I was going to die. I wanted to keep it, but at the same time, I just was not ready to hear their reply. Something in me said they just would not believe me. I tossed my phone on the bed and stared at the ceiling fan until my eyes finally were too heavy to keep open anymore. Well, my friends, we've reached the end of tonight's chilling tale, Rickets, Part 4, by the talented Locked 334. I hope you've enjoyed our descent into darkness, and that you'll carry a piece of the Fear File Chronicles with you as you drift into uneasy dreams. If our story left you shivering and shaking, don't forget to like this video, share it with others who crave a good scare, and subscribe to the Fear File Chronicles for more haunting horrors. Remember to hit the bell notification so you're always among the first to know when a new nightmare awaits. As always, we appreciate your support and would love to hear your thoughts in the comments below. Sharing your fears and frights with us truly means a lot, so don't be shy to engage with our sinister community. Until next time, remember to embrace the darkness, for it is within the shadows that our most terrifying stories are born. Good night, and stay scared.